Hello and welcome back to the Burgess Podcast, the podcast where I talk to a variety of people in sport to hear their journey. Today we were joined by a chap who's experienced a lot of success in the sport he does, as well as other sports such as football, long jump, sprinting. But he's also struggled with a lot of injuries that have set him back. And we're going to talk about his journey today and the impact that they've had on his career. So sit back, relax and enjoy and listen to this Olympic journey.
I remember running down there and I felt quick and I felt super good, and I hopped, step, jumped, got out of the pit, and it was a no jump. Story of my life this season. I've not jumped far this season, sort of documented, because everything's been a no jump because we've not been able to get the timing right of the runway. So no jump means my foot's gone over the plasticine and we've left a mark on the plasticine. And I look at the pit and it's like close to automatic qualifying was like 1690 or something like that. No, sorry, it was 1705, and I get into the pit and I'm like, oh, that's 17. That is easy. Like, it's a good jump. So I look back and the flag's red. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I know I'm jumping far. This is the furthest I've been jumping. That jump would have comfortably got me into the final, comfortably.
Yeah. So, welcome back to Season 3, Episode 1 of the Burgess Podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest. He's recently back from Tokyo competing in triple jump. So today we're joined by Ben Williams. Ben, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. First of all, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And like I've just said off the record button, Ben is representing all athletes that aren't rugby at the moment as being the first guest kind of on since we're expanding from rugby.
Nervous.
No pressure. But first question, it's nothing to do with sport, but if you were stuck on a desert island and you could pick 3 celebrities to be with, dead or alive, who would you be and kind of why?
So I've got to know. Am I trying to survive? Are we on a desert island and we're chilling, or are we trying to survive?
No, you're not chilling. It's not like kind of an Ibiza kind of a desert island. You know, you're kind of fighting for your life kind of thing. Who are you picking and why? So you need a mix of brains and probably physical people.
Bear Grylls.
Oh yeah.
Knows what he's doing. I don't have to think about anything. He's there. Tyson Fury. He's defending us. He's a laugh defending us. And then, oh man, the third one's tough.
You seem pretty safe with them too, to be fair. You could probably pick someone you just want to chill with.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, some guy I want to chill with. Oh gosh. You know what, Joe Rogan?
Yes, I reckon he's got a lot of stories.
Yeah, he's going to keep us entertained. He's funny, and he's just going to keep us entertained with his stories and his mad conspiracy theories and so yeah, those are the 3. I've got defense covered with Tyson. Bear Grylls knows what he's doing, and Joe Rogan just. I think that's a good little.
I think that's a very good mix. I think, to be fair, if you're taking them lot, you might as well be chilling because you're not going to have to do much. Bear Grylls will sort you out.
Mate. I'm smart, man. I'm smart.
Think big. So let's talk about kind of your childhood. And were you always into sport? Was sport always a big part of your life growing up?
Yes, mate. Yeah. So as a youngster, I did all sports I could. I did gymnastics at a reasonable level, and then found football once I was a little bit older. Played football at a decent level. Played for Port Vale. And then, yeah, just sort of, I played all sports in school and whatnot. I was always kid and jumped the furthest and everything. And then the opportunity arose to do triple jump at a school competition, and I was sort of the only person who knew how to do it. Yeah. So I was like, give it a bash, and I ended up breaking the Stoke-on-Trent record in my first jump. And
that's not too bad, is it? Not many can do that.
Not bad.
So at what age did you kind of realise that you were potentially like a cut above the rest in terms of sporting ability?
You know, you're always just on the playground, aren't you? Who's the fastest? Who's this? And it's been sort of being from a young age. I was always the quickest, like I say. But I just took to most sports, whether it's a skill-based sport or a little bit more sort of like on the physical side of sprinting, jumping. Yeah. I've always just taken to sport pretty well. So I knew I could turn to most sports and be pretty decent from an early age. Really, I didn't expect to be an Olympian. I'm not going to lie.
That's pretty special to become an Olympian, isn't it? Not everyone kind of. It's the dream, but I mean, it's a dream at the end of the day for most people, isn't it?
Exactly.
But so obviously you mentioned that you were doing lots of sports, and obviously you'd have gone to school at the time. How would you kind of sort out that balance of doing loads of sports and your academics? How at first did you kind of balance academic and sports?
To be honest, I didn't really. I was relatively smart. I was relatively intelligent at like GCSE level, so that pretty naturally to me. I didn't really have to. I'm that kind of guy that sort of, if I study the night before, I'm pretty decent. I can go into it. If I overthink it and I do too much, that's when it all goes tits up. But so it's sort of like the GCSE age. It was pretty easy. At A level, I just didn't really care about education. That was my downfall. There is I concentrated way too much on the sport, and I didn't really. I became a world champion during that time, so I was sort of, you could see I put a lot of my effort to the sport rather than the education, but I sort of had to learn when I went out to uni in America. I had to learn to balance that, and a little bit more than just the night before out there with the papers and with the exams and whatnot. So it's a tough balance, but it's literally just being organised. Realistically, it's just setting up. I would. My first priority would be jumping, but once I trained, gone to class and got back and recovered, eaten, things like that, and making sure that my recovery was on point, that's when I'd then like do this, the studying with place if necessary. So it was just about being organised and just utilising your time.
And I think the most important thing in that situation is understanding how, like, what you can do. Like, for example, you're saying you're the type of guy that can do it the night before. A lot of people can't do that. I'm the same. If I try and do too much, I just kind of get angry, frustrated. I'm like, oh, this is a load of rubbish. Kind of just chuck the papers on the floor. But some people need them 6 weeks of like 7 hours a day.
Yeah, it's about knowing what works for you, isn't it? And I think sport helped me to find out what works for me as well. I found out what works for me in my sport. I sort of adopted that in everyday life, and that worked for me whilst I was studying it.
Exactly. And so when did you kind of stop all the other sports, like the football and then other sports, to kind of just focus on triple jump?
Yeah, so I was about 16. And Vale were iffing and ahhing as to whether to sign me. I was about 5'7", I think, at 16, and I was too small for them. And I was quick, left-footed. Yeah. Swing that ball in. I was really good technically on the pitch, but some of the lads at 16 back in those days, you're playing Blackpool for hours, all of it, 6 foot plus, massive guys, and I was just getting battered off the ball, mate. I can't lie. So they gave me, I got signed at 16. They gave me a couple of months to, basically, it was almost like a temporary contract of like, Christmas will review, and then summer will review again. So Christmas came, they were reviewing, and they were saying, look, I was doing weights, and I was really trying to put weight on. I wanted to be, I did triple jump. I didn't really care about it too much. I mean, I was decent. I think I was the best at the time, but I wanted to be a professional footballer, and this weight just wouldn't go on. Yeah. So it was okay, we're going to review it again. And I was trying so hard and nothing was working. I said, leave it. I can't be bothered.
Something else.
Yeah, so I thought, let's give triple jump a good go. I'm the best in the country. Why not?
Yeah, that's not too bad, is it?
I had something else to fall back on. So yeah, the bulking up wasn't working. Anyway, I start triple jump training. I shoot up to 6 foot.
That's almost one of those to put there, isn't it, in a sense?
6 months too late, but I was also a world youth champion, so you know what I mean. It
kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So was it kind of the end of 2012? You got your scholarship to go over to USA. How did that come about? Is that something you applied for? Or are you kind of put forward for that? How did that come about?
No, so as a youth, I had a lot of success, and a lot of schools approached me, and I was never really interested. I was fine with my coach in Britain, and everything was going good. And then a lot of injuries crept in, and I had to have a few years out of the sport, which meant I lost quite a bit of funding. And University of Louisville got in touch with me, and they were really interested in getting me over there for a full scholarship. And for me, it was more about getting my athletics career back on track rather than the. I think great to come away with a degree and whatnot, but me, it was there's free medical, there's free physio, it's good facilities, good competition, and that was what sort of tickled my fancy, I suppose. And I think at that time that it really saved my career. I think had I not gone out to America, it just would have been a downward spiral of injury, and not being able to recover from those injuries. It was. They approached me, big scholarship. Why not go out to?
Might as well take an opportunity.
Mate, experience life. You know what I mean? It's all about experiences, and I loved every second of it out there.
Yeah.
I met some of my best friends ever out there, and no regrets, man. It definitely saved my career.
Definitely. So if you don't mind, let's talk about them injuries, because I mean, a lot of people kind of be listening to this, and obviously you're successful at the youth levels, and I mean, a lot of people kind of think, if you're an Olympian, you've kind of just plain sailing, you've always been the best, blah blah blah. It's nice and easy, bit of hard work, and you're going to be an Olympian. But these people have natural talent. When stuff like injuries come along, they're the biggest setbacks, and like not just physically but mentally. How do you deal with that?
Oh mate, it was tough. Yeah. So when I was younger and I was getting injured, I was so sort of just confident within myself that it mentally it never really got to me at all. Obviously, physically was a main thing there. I wasn't able to do the training which was going to help me progress to the next level. So that was the struggle as a youngster. But 2018, I got picked for the Commonwealth Games. Well, yeah, in 2017, I got picked for the 2018 Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
And through the 2016-2017 season, we just had this terrible patella tendon injury. So we decided to have surgery and not go to the Commonwealth Games, and that was like just a big kick in the teeth. It would have been my first senior champs out in Australia. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's not a bad place to go either, is it? Absolute
vibe, but you know, the sensible head came on as like, let's get this injury sorted fully once and for all. And that coming back from that was mentally tough, man, because I knew I was in great shape leading into the Commonwealth. And physically, I'd never been in better shape. I couldn't defend I won the British Champs in 2017. I couldn't defend my title in 2018, and that sort of hurt me.
It's frustrating, stuff like that.
Yeah, massively. And then it came to, so I had the surgery in April 2018, and it came to about February 2019. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just in the gym, just bloody doing isometric holds, no jumping, nothing.
Rehab stuff's the worst.
Oh, nightmare, just tedious, boring stuff. And I'm a kid. I just want to jump. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, literally.
Like, jump into sand. I just want to do all the fun stuff. But I mean, it worked out pretty well because 2019 was the best year I've ever had. So you know, that year of just solid work on a rehab came back better and stronger than ever after nearly quitting in February to then becoming the sixth best Brit ever in history. That year was good.
That is crazy. And you mentioned that, and you say, you know, obviously that long period out and the moments where you're kind of at your lowest points with your triple jump, they almost make you realise and appreciate when you do get back how much that sport's given you, like, and the opportunities it's given you, and how even then, although it wouldn't have been a kind of in the moment decision if you were to quit, but it would have been a little bit in the sense that, I'm at my lowest point, you know, the injuries are painful, but like when you got back and you were training normally, did it make you realise how much you love the sport again? Did it all start to come back?
Mate, I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Just literally my first few competitions, I did terrible. My runway was awful. Everything was just the timing was off. I did terrible, but I was back out there competing and I loved it.
And that's what I love.
Yeah, man, I just love competing. I love putting myself up against the best people in the world and just absolutely going for it, man. But you get a new sort of. It's almost like you fall in love again with the sport. Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic. 2019 that's what's kept me in the sport now as well. It is unreal.
Definitely, and to be fair, I mean, I'm not at all on the same level, but I was playing rugby and I got concussion after concussion after concussion, and it was like my GCSE year, and I'm trying to read Over Mice and Men, an absolute classic, and I just couldn't read it, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've had headaches for about 5 weeks. I still can't read a book, and I'm like, what is going on? And then the longer I'm out, I'm like, I loved rugby. Rugby was all I kind of had. It was like, I was 15, 16. And then all of a sudden, the more the kind of concussions come, you do start to realise, hang on, is is this actually worth it? And obviously, when it's like your head, I mean, mate, when I'm sitting there and I can't read, there's so much more to life than just rugby. And
100%.
But obviously, I mean, you'll probably know that when you're younger, it's so hard to realise there's more to life than the sport you love and you love doing.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So let's talk about kind of your experiences when you did become that like under 23 English champion. Obviously, moments like that, I've spoken a lot with kind of obviously rugby players about moments where, like, trigger moments in your career where they kind of are a springboard that make you want to work harder and stuff like that. Were them kind of moments the same for you, trigger moments? Like you thought you were working hard, and then you'd done that, and like all of a sudden you've got like a new burst of wanting to work extra hard to get to that next step kind of thing?
Yes, mate, for sure. Yeah. So the under-23 one was actually pretty special because I'd not been competing for a few years. And I got back and I won the under-23 champs with like a reasonable PB, nothing spectacular. But then 2 weeks later, I went to the British champs and jumped a huge PB. And I came second in that comp, but it was with a, I was a bit younger than some of the top guys then. And I came away with a silver medal. And that performance at the under-23 champs just definitely gave me the confidence to just, like you say, springboard into the next one. And then that performance at the British champs definitely motivated me for the next few years. And it's just constant. It's constant. When it's going well, it's constant springboards onto the next achievements. And when it's going bad, I use that as a motivator. It's not a springboard so much, but it's definitely a motivator to ensure that doesn't happen again. And we do better in the next outing.
Definitely. And when we talk about obviously your achievements, kind of representing England and GB and whatever, but how was the kind of environment when you were over in the US? Was there other kind of Brits out there? I'm sure there were a couple, but how was the environment being with obviously Americans as well? Was the environment different to what you used to in England? Yeah,
for sure, because out in England it's very much and it is an individual sport.
Yeah.
America, even though you're doing your individual event and it is an individual sport, they purely see it as a team event, and it's all about the points, and it's all about this camaraderie, and everybody gets together and they push each other in the weight room, and then they're sprinting and everything. It's absolutely fantastic. I'd never seen that side of athletics. It always just been very, very much individual out here in Britain, but in the collegiate system it was crazy. Very different sort of mentality. Everybody's pushing and driving together. I think that's kind of what I needed at that time as well. I needed that sort of peers rather than the physios and and family like that. The peers around me were pushing. We were all pushing each other, and that was absolutely fantastic.
Definitely, because obviously being an individual sport, I mean, you can wake up them early mornings and do the training you need, or you can go see your coach and do that training. But sometimes you need to kind of see your pal across the road do a good jump, or wake up like that half an hour earlier to go, hang on, I don't like. He's a good mate of mine, but I want to kind of beat him. Like, obviously, you're gonna be good mates, but you also you're in competition with them. So how did stuff like that really kind of like? Were you the type of guy, if you saw someone do something like better than you, that would be like, hang on, that can't happen, kind of thing?
Because I was the best jumper out there. I was the big campus in terms of trouble. Like, I can't be letting these guys come and try and take what's mine. But in a friendly way, obviously. Yeah. But it's quite good because I'm very like sort of well-rounded, but I'm not sort of spectacular at any specific part of training. So I'm decent at the plyometric side of stuff, and I'm quite strong. So you'll get some of the jumpers who are strong, and I'm trying to chase them. You get the jumpers who are fast, try and chase them. Then you get the jumpers who are plyometrically gifted, and I get to chase them. And because I'm quite well-rounded, I can keep up with all of them. And I can try to beat these individual people who are good at these specific aspects. It was almost like you're a fighter, and you are you're training for a big tall southpaw, so you bring big tall southpaws into and the next fight you're fighting a short orthodox guys trying to get on the inside, so you bring them in. You try and compete against all different types.
You can just push everyone's buttons. You can just annoy everyone. You're like, oh, you beat me there, mate. I'm coming for you, kind of thing.
That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So, I mean, right. I reckon I've got some quick fire questions to do. And I mean, these are completely silly, and these are kind of just for people to tune in. And, I mean, these are the kind of things that people can kind of answer themselves. So I'm gonna just fire away quick answers, and then we're gonna talk Olympics, which I'm sure everyone's eager to listen to. So first one, when are you most productive?
The day before something needs to be done.
Talking about them GCSEs and stuff like that,
yeah.
that kind of thing. So who is your inspiration?
Family in general, just my family.
Summer or winter? Are you summer or winter kind of guy?
Yeah, winter. I like the winter
Really?
graft. I like winter. Summer's lovely for competing. I love the sun and stuff like that, but I love winter graft, man. Like no haircut.
That's where you make the gains.
Yeah, I love the winter graft.
What scares you the most?
Failure. Bit deep that, but failure.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I reckon. I know these are quick fire, but that's a good thing to talk about. I reckon everyone that's kind of an elite athlete or successful in what they do, I think being scared of failure, but being able to be scared of it in the right way is so key. And I think that's something. I've literally just finished school, and I think the word failure is something school is so bad at like conveying. They perceive it as such a negative, and I don't think it should be perceived that way for like kids, because like as a kid you're so easy to be molded, and failure is such a positive in that sense. Because what's failure at like 18 and below, like, or even like 25 and below? Like, what is failure?
Literally nothing, mate. Literally, failure is a motivator for me, but I'm scared of what I've set out to achieve. So any failure which is there along the way, that doesn't matter. It's the end. Don't want to fail at. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Completely.
Yeah.
Right. Favorite TV show? What's your favorite TV show?
Oh God, I don't really watch TV. Friends, probably.
Friends, classic, absolute classic. Are you a Nike or Adidas kind of guy?
Puma. I'm sponsored, mate.
That's fair enough.
Answer though, I shouldn't, but I will give you an answer. So GB are sponsored by Nike. Right, so Great Britain sponsored by Nike. Team GB, the Olympic kit, is sponsored by Adidas, and I prefer the Team GB kit. So in that sense, I will go.
But every day, Puma.
I've got to. Otherwise, they're going.
See, Puma and Adidas. Have you heard the story about Puma and Adidas?
The brothers, right?
Oh, mate, it's the most craziest thing on the planet. Like, what are the chances? It's like a little village with about 7,000 people, and then two brothers have created Adidas and Puma.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Ridiculous. Are you an Apple or Samsung?
Apple.
And then what is your favourite country to kind of go to and chill?
I love England. I like all the Greek islands. My favourite holiday destination, little Greek islands, a place called Milos is beautiful. But I love England, man. I love
England. He's proud to be British.
I am, yeah. England's underrated, man. We've got some beautiful places in England.
We do,
and Scotland, Wales. Beautiful also, to be fair.
That is true, yeah. Well, I went to Wales for like one of the first times yesterday, because I'm going to Cardiff University in September. Obviously with lockdown, I've literally never been down there, so I went and visited yesterday, and it is crazy. I think there's a beach down there. That's got me buzzing. I'm nowhere near a beach.
Yeah, nice.
So right, I reckon this is the part everyone kind of wants to know about, and that's the Olympics. Yep. The first question I've kind of got for you is, how did you kind of deal with that postponement of the Olympics being last year? Was that something that impacted you in a big way? Because obviously you build towards a 4-year kind of cycle of training and like peaking and stuff like that, and now all of a sudden it's a 5-year kind of cycle. How did that impact you?
At the time, I didn't think it impacted me quite like at all, to be honest with you. But hindsight's 2020, and looking back, I was in phenomenal shape in 2020, like ridiculous shape. And I thought, when the postponement happened, I thought, okay, it's just another year to get better. But it resulted in me once lockdown happened and we had to train on, when sports facilities were closed and we were training outdoors, it meant that I was training on an uneven surface, and it resulted in me having a stress fracture in my toe and in the bottom part of my shin, and I had impingement all because of just training on this uneven surface. So I ended up having a surgery in November, and this season's been quite poor and disappointing because I never really got back fully from the ankle surgery in November. Yeah. So 2020 would have been ideal for me. I think we 100% would have been challenging for medals in 2020, but due to and whatnot, we unfortunately didn't perform too great, and we didn't make the final of the Olympics. So I think the postponement really affected me negatively.
Yeah, that's a shame to hear. And how did you how do you find out about being selected for GB for the Olympics kind of thing? Is it something you go to a competition and you do well in and you go, or how does that kind of stuff work for people that don't know?
Yeah, so basically, in terms of athletics, what you do is you have a standard, and the standards for this Olympics, without lockdowns and without COVID, the standards were ridiculously high anyway, which they set. It was going to be a tough Olympics to make, but I achieved the standard. And then you have to come in the top 2 at the British Championships to firmly secure your spot. There are other ways to. That's the only surefire way of, you've got the standard, top 2 at British Champs, and that's that. So I had the standard, and I won the British Champs this year, and booked my ticket to Tokyo.
So how did all that kind of stuff work with COVID? Was it, because I don't know, it's Tokyo, Red Am, I don't even know, but how did all that kind of stuff work? Was it stressful at all, or what?
So we had to have a PCR test 2 weeks before we left. We had to have lateral flow tests pretty much every day, 10 days before we left. A PCR test 72 hours and a PCR test 48 hours before we flew out there. And then out there we had tests every single day. Luckily, it wasn't too sort of invasive with the nasal and throat. It was just you have a swab in your mouth for a little bit, and then once we got into the village, it was saliva tests, which was a bit rank but not invasive.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it was stringent. It was stringent. I mean, you couldn't leave the hotel, you couldn't leave the village, you couldn't do pretty much anything there. So they were fully on it with procedures and keeping us in place.
Mate, who would have thought this like 2 years ago? It's bonkers, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Mate, I love Japanese culture. I'm a little geek, man. I love anime and stuff like that. So I was like high out there and go and explore. And I'm big into my fragrances. And there's a brand called Le Labo, and they do a Tokyo exclusive. And I was like, I'm on it. I'm going to go out there and get this Tokyo exclusive. You can't get it anywhere in the world, and I couldn't get it. And I was fuming. I'm in Tokyo,
mate.
But they just released it today online anyway for the month of September. I'm going off on a tangent here, but they released it for the month of September.
What about fragrances as well? I've got loads.
They upped the price by 100 quid.
No way.
It was like 225 quid, and I was like, I was in Tokyo, but I bought it.
That is crazy.
I was gutted. I was like, I went on the prices today. I was like, you are joking me. In Tokyo, it's like equals about 100, 130, 140 quid, and I had to pay 225.
Oh, mate, that is gutting.
Fuming, mate. But it was weird, man. Just being in. I don't know. Is that being on Big Brother or something? Do you know what I mean? Like you can't.
So I can imagine. Were you quite like nervous before you were going out? Were you quite nervous that you test positive? Because I've got up my road. So I've got someone called Amber Hill. I don't know if you know her, but she's an Olympic shooter, and she was obviously meant to be going to Tokyo in the summer. And the night before, she tested positive, so she couldn't go. And I'm just thinking like that. As in, you work so hard, and I just couldn't think of it worse.
That's heartbreaking because it's not even it. It's almost out of your control, man. Like it's just not. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I just wrap myself in bubble wrap and masks, mate. I constantly, and I was just ensuring that I wasn't just going out and doing stupid stuff and going for coffees when it was unnecessary. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like 2 weeks of not testing positive, so let's just be pretty strict within these.
We've done it for long enough. We've spent months inside, so we can do it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about this kind of Olympic experience for yourself. What was that first moment when you kind of stepped off that plane? I mean, when you step off a plane on your holiday, that's the best feeling. But I mean, obviously, stepping into Tokyo and thinking, I'm here for the Olympics. I can imagine that was quite a surreal moment.
Yeah, mate, it was nuts because obviously you step off the plane and the whole airport's, kitted out in Olympic rings and but again, it's, I don't know, the whole sort of experience was sort of dampened by the fact that, there's the procedures and how we had to go to the airport for a lot more hours than we would have had to, pre-COVID and things like that. But obviously, I don't know, in my head, the entire time I was there to do a job, and unfortunately I didn't do the job, but, the intentions there and do a job. So as excited as I was, I didn't sort of let that, consume me. I was there ready to compete.
100%. And obviously in the media about the Olympics, there was a lot of things about these, what was it, the cardboard beds or something?
Yeah.
What were they like?
Sound, mate, yeah.
They just like a normal bed?
Mate, the media said, they were saying what? It was to stop people having sex and stuff like that. Mate, don't be so. It was all to do with recycling and that's all it was. Mate, put it this way, right? We've got a discus thrower called Lawrence, yeah. He's about £300. It's literally about £300. I don't even know what that is in kilograms. But you're telling me you can't get two race walkers in that bed having a bit of fun? Do you know what I mean?
Literally. They probably weigh less.
Exactly. It's stupid. So it wasn't to stop people having sex.
Literally. Because, mate, I'll be sitting there scrolling through kind of TikTok and be like, oh, another one about the cardboard beds. And I'm just like, surely that's not true. People I should have capitalised on the old TikTok whilst I was out there, because people rinsed their TikTok, and it was just because it was such a talking point. Everybody was watching their TikTok. Stupid me, just being lazy, couldn't be bothered making it. But yeah, the cardboard beds were fine, mate. The mattresses were a firm side and a soft side. You could see it was down. So it was just media hype. It's a classic, really, isn't it?
That's it.
Is there any kind of, like, would you say, stuff about the Olympic Village that people may not know that you were maybe surprised about, or not really, or was it kind of all as you expected?
Yeah, pretty much all as I expected. I'd heard before, previously they just, from what you hear, there's just condoms everywhere to hand out for people who are going to be, and there was less of that this time, I think, to promote social distancing and stuff like that. But yeah, nothing really to write home about. I think everything was pretty much documented. You see everything on TikTok, everything on Instagram and stuff like that. So you're literally getting an insight into what's there and what's happening. There's no real sort of secrets or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about kind of the day of or the night before of, like, when you're competing. Do you have any kind of superstitions that you do, or is there anything you kind of will always do before competing, or not really?
Not really. I think if you have your superstitions, and let's say superstitions aren't always controllable. Yeah, I like to control the controllable. I don't want to be faffing about and thinking about something which may not be there. Or do you know what I mean?
Taking your mind off the actual job.
That's it. Oh, have I got this certain pair of socks? Or I need to do this exact routine before I go to sleep and stuff. And if that messes up, that's gonna mess with the mind going into the competition. And no, I don't tend to have any sort of like superstitions per se. No.
So you're just about to do that first jump. Can you kind of explain that feeling as much as you can? I mean, a lot of people explain the biggest moments of their life as a bit of a blur. How could you explain that kind of moment?
Oh, mate, I remember it. There's no blur there. I remember it. It, yeah.
Tell us. We want to know.
That's it. I stood at the top of the runway, and a Brazilian behind me, and I hear him say something in his language, but it sounds pretty aggressive. And then I hear a swear word. And I'm like, is he swearing at me? I just like smile, and you can't see it on the camera, but I just like smile and then give him a little finger behind my back. I'm ready to go. So I remember that bit. I remember running down there, and I felt quick, and I felt super good. And I hop, step, jump, got out the pit, and it was a no jump. Story of my life this season. I've not jumped far this season, sort of documented, because everything's been a no jump because we've not been able to get the timing right of the runway. So no jump means my foot's gone over the plasticine, and we've left a mark on the plasticine. And I look at the pit, and it's like close to automatic qualifying was like 1690 or something like that. It was 1705, and I get into the pit, and I'm like, oh, that's 17. That is easy. Like, it's a good jump. So I look back, and the flag's red. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I know I'm jumping far. This is the furthest I've been jumping. That jump would have comfortably got me into the final, comfortably. Yeah. And then I get down there in round 2, and basically I just put myself in a bad position because I'm constantly chasing there. You only get 3 jumps in qualifying, so I sort of jogged down to get a jump in round 2, and it wasn't enough. And then in round 3, I had to go for it and got another no jump. But yeah, the moments I was there, and I didn't notice that it was an empty crowd remember thinking back on that afterwards and thinking I didn't notice it was an empty crowd at all because I was just so within
focused,
that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember it, man. I was excited. I was proud. Do you know what I mean? Like I was really just proud.
It's almost one of those things. It moments like when you're at the Olympics, and I mean, obviously I've only spoken to rugby players. They've spoken about their experience of like being British Irish Lion or you debut for England. Sometimes, obviously, the result is the thing you want to get, but sometimes the whole experience is a lot more meaningful, a lot more kind of proud than the actual result. And I mean, hopefully you're going to have the opportunity. I don't know. We'll talk about your kind of next steps in a minute, but hopefully you have an opportunity to go again in the future. But if you could kind of describe your Olympic experience in 3 words, how would you explain that? It's quite a big thing to put into 3 words, but if you can.
I try. Motivating, for sure, because of the performance. Motivating. I'm going to say proud again. I was very proud. I love putting on the GB colours, regardless of what competition it is. But the fact it was the Olympics is crazy. And motivated, proud, fun, man. It was fun. Yeah. It was really fun. Yeah, my roommate, I had a great roommate, Taylor Campbell. He's a hammer thrower, and you think you've got to spend 24/7 with this person essentially. I think we missed about 2 meals together, and but it was just good, man. Good vibes. Like we both. Can we swear on this?
Yeah.
We both shit the bed in our competitions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were just vibing. Went on these little bikes around the village after. It was just chilling, man. It was good.
Yeah,
it was real good.
It's an experience that you're never ever gonna forget.
Priceless, mate. Priceless. Yeah.
So what are your next steps in terms of kind of triple jump? Obviously, the last couple of years, I'm sure, has been really intense. Lots of ups and downs. Are you gonna have a little bit of a rest now, or are you kind of ready to? What are your aims?
I'm on my rest period now, mate, but I just can't wait to get back. I'm putting on the pounds, the pizza, and the pizza whiskies are getting down this neck. But so the next step, the next comp for me, which I'm mainly focused, next year is it's a tough year. We've got the Commonwealth, the Europeans, and the World Champs, and I'd love to do all 3. But for me, the Commonwealth Games is a focus because it's a home game. It's in Birmingham. Yeah. I've got a phenomenal chance of winning the Commonwealth Games, and that puts me in a category with the likes of Phillips Adowu, Jonathan Edwards, other great from the past who have gone and won that title. So that's a big focus for me. Birmingham's my place, man. I love jumping in Birmingham. It's where my PB is. So yeah, that's a big focus for me. And then obviously at that point, Paris is only 2 years away, so we're probably going to stick on until then. And hopefully we can right some wrongs at that Olympics.
Mate, I don't doubt it. And I mean, we spoke about your kind of mindset and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm sure people listening to this, I'm sure they don't doubt that you're gonna be successful in whatever you do, kind of going forward. And the final question, and usually I'd kind of ask the question, give advice to kind of young aspiring athletes, but I've kind of wanted to change it for season 3. And how would you define success?
Oh, that's a tough one. How would I define success? Well, defining success is easy, isn't it? It's achieving a goal which you've set out. That's defining success, but it roots deeper, doesn't it, into what is success to
you?
Me.
What does success look like to you?
Success to me is putting myself in a position where I can provide for my family and just be comfortable with my family. You know what I mean? Like, no kids just yet, but I'm getting to the ripe old age where kids make soon. So I just want to put myself and my family in a position where I'm not trying to be a billionaire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but, of course.
Just be comfortable and safe where we can do what we want and life is good and we never need to want. So that's successful to me, is just being able to provide well for my family.
Definitely, and I think that's why I asked that question, because I mean, success will look different for so many people, and that's why I think instead of kind of getting advice, because the advice became all a bit quite similar, whereas this, I'm sure, like, you've
got to work on, got to stick with it, and you know what I mean.
Literally, I've got the kind of footage of loads of advice for people if they want it, but now I kind of, what is success? And that's why I'm going to ask this, and I think that's a great first answer. Look, Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure to kind of speak to you today, hear your journey. hear about the Olympics, and I think people listening are going to take great value and insight from this, even if they're not triple jumper. And that's what I'm thinking about, kind of talking to loads of athletes. You can learn so much from people's journey,s even if it's not your sport. So I think people would have learned so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and obviously wish you all the best with your next steps, mate.
For having me on, man. Thank you.
Thank you.